Jasmine Crockett stepped into room 2123 with a binder in hand, her calm demeanor belying the storm she was about to unleash. The table was long, oak, polished aligned with committee members, aides, and reporters whose cameras whirred in the hush. At the far end sat President Trump, arms folded, expression tight. His presence here was unprecedented. Whispers said someone was hiding something. As chair, I'll recognize Representative Crockett for opening remarks, intoned the committee leader. She raised the mic, leaned forward. I received confidential CBO documents last night, she announced. They reveal last-minute edits granting massive tax breaks to luxury real estate developers, many tied to your organization. She lifted her binder. A ripple ran through the room. Trump's jaw tightened. This is nonsense, he barked. Crockett nodded, voice steady. These figures are from your own agency, a $312 billion deficit impact. She clicked a remote and a graph appeared, the two lines diverging sharply. The red line for real estate carve-outs soared, the blue for infrastructure spending plunged. Reporters scribbled, senators exchanged startled glances. Mr. President, she said, locking eyes with him, who does this budget serve, a family in Tucson or your golf resorts? Silence. He cleared his throat. This is our greatest plan. Our jobs are up, taxes down, he insisted, trying to reclaim control. She waited him out. When he paused, she pressed on. These exemptions came from an email thread authored by your advisor, R. Bayfield Way in Shaw. Section G48L remains untouched. She read the subject line aloud. Trump scoffed. Could be doctored. Gasps echoed. It's been authenticated by bipartisan analysts, Crockett shot back. She laid down the binder and folded her arms. The weight of her silence pressed harder than any argument. 15 minutes later, the hearing ended. News crews rushed to air the revelations. By afternoon, major outlets confirmed the memo's authenticity and a quietly deleted budget appendix. A student intern unearthed a draft projecting over $1 trillion in revenue losses over 4 years if carve-outs stayed. Social media exploded with clips of Crockett delivering her case with surgical precision. Even conservative commentators conceded the numbers stung. Inside the West Wing, panic reigned. Tweets were halted. Advisors scrambled for damage control. That evening, Crockett issued a brief statement outside her office. I wasn't elected to sit quietly. I protect the people's money. No rally, no theatrics, just a promise. 2 days later, Bayfield resigned. The White House blamed timing, but the press smelled a cover-up. Crockett returned to Capitol Hill under tight security, the walls plastered with threats of vandalism at her Dallas office. Anonymous warnings. Some GOP colleagues whispered about ethics complaints. She responded with facts, chain of custody logs, internal memos and timestamps she'd pre-filed with the ethics subcommittee. On the morning of the subcommittee hearing, the room crackled with anticipation. Chair Ridley cautioned that reference in contested documents could breach protocol. Crockett rose. Truth doesn't bend to procedure, she said. Questions came fast. Were files cleared? Did you bypass channels? She answered calmly, citing emails and official records. Then Wright, a Trump loyalist, suggested mishandling of sensitive files. Crockett slid forward a sealed folder, every signature, every timestamp from the clerks themselves. I'm an attorney. I read every page, she said. Wright sputtered. Then, to audible surprise, Rep. Novaka, a reliable Republican voter, announced his staff cross-checked her data. It holds up. The room exhaled. Within hours, a House Budget Office staffer resigned, submitting an affidavit that detailed pressured edits by Bayfield and another advisor, Garrett Nolan. The largest ethics investigation into a presidential budget in recent memory was underway. Crockett faced rising threats. A tinted SUV tailed her. Suspicious packages landed at her door. But she pressed forward, meeting with freshman lawmakers from all parties. One Republican confessed, I can't defend this to my voters. Silence from others became tacit support. At a town hall in Phoenix, a mother of 3 stood and wept. Her child's school had no air conditioning for years because funding was redirected to beachfront condos. The crowd was hushy. This was no longer abstract policy but real lives disrupted. Back in her DC apartment, Crockett stood before the mirror and reminded herself, "I'm telling the truth." Her niece's popsicle-smudged grin on her screensaver anchored her. She texted her team, "Tomorrow, I testify under oath. We're ready." When the hearing reconvened, the chamber was packed. Voters streamed in, YouTubers live-streamed from the gallery. Ridley warned again, but Crockett rose and looked at him directly. "I stand by every fact," she said. Questions volleyed. She fielded each one, revealing draft comparisons. January's cap on real estate deductions versus February's open-ended carve-out. The revenue loss, $47 billion over 5 years. She circled signatures. She let the numbers speak. By midday, journalists were calling it a watershed moment. Bipartisan proposals to audit tax carve-outs surfaced overnight. In her Oak Cliff neighborhood, barbershops buzzed with talk of Crockett's clause. Union halls debated accountability. Even late-night comedians toned down jokes so there was respect in the laughter. One afternoon, holed up at her father's kitchen table in Texas, she read letters from strangers, veterans, single parents, students, who all saying the same thing: "Thank you for fighting for us." She smiled, tears brimming. The truth had resonated. When she returned to D.C., a former CBO analyst publicly backed her case. Bipartisan senators drafted legislation. And while threats continued and a whisper campaign targeted her law school recorder, she refused to back down. "Silence costs more than speaking out," she told her staff. And in the weeks that followed, the question Jasmine Crockett posed on day one echoed through the halls of power: who is this budget really for?